Hi again, Mark here from Talkingbass.net. A couple of weeks ago I gave a little breakdown of Raining Blood by Slayer and showed you how avoiding the standard doubling of guitar riffs can work really well. I was also asked for a little more metal in the bass lessons. So this week I'm going to give an example of the opposite effect of doubling a very frenetic riff in the shape of the greatest love song ever written, Hammer Smashed Face by Cannibal Corpse. We'll be looking at one of the opening riffs from the tune where you get to hear some really quick 16th note galloping rhythms played at 192 beats per minute, and it sounds like this. The lesson material and drum track can be found over at Talkingbass.net, so just follow that link in the info below. And while you're there, check out the lesson map where you'll find hundreds more bass lessons on every topic imaginable, and they're all organised and systemised for ease of navigation. Also, sign up for the free membership where you can gain access to a ton of different practice bass resources and downloads in the members area, so go check it out. Okay, so this is one of Cannibal Corpse's earlier tunes from the Tomb of the Mutilated album, and some of you might know this from its appearance in Ace Ventura: Pet Detective. Alex Webster is the bass player, and Alex is renowned for his great three-finger picking, which you get a good taste of in this song. First of all, let's just work through the notes in that riff, and then I'll give a little breakdown and some tips on how to play it. So, we're tuning down a half step, so we're tuning the strings E flat, A flat, D flat and G flat, but I am going to describe the notes as if we were still in normal E tuning, so that's going to be the open E, just to avoid any confusion. So, for this riff, we begin with 3 gallops on the open E string. And then we hit the B flat there, 6th fret of the E string. And we slide down from there, so. Okay, and we work through that several times. So we have so 3 times through, and then we have this little line here, this little chromatic line that sounds like this. Okay, so we start on the open E string there, and then we have F to F sharp, so 1st fret and 2nd fret. And then what you can actually do, because there's a slight gap there before we move up to the D string, so you can actually just slide up, you know, anything to give you a little bit of a little maneuvering room to get your fingers up here. So, okay, so once you've played those 3 notes, we move up here to the 5th fret of the D string, so we're playing a G there. So we play 4 notes on there, 4 16th notes. And then the F sharp, the 4th fret of the D string. So it's all just very chromatic. So, okay, so that's the whole riff. So let's just work through that slowly. So, 3, 4. So now let's break down the technique a little. So Alex Webster uses the same kind of 3-finger picking technique that you'll find from guys like Billy Sheehan, where you pick in the order ring, middle, index, or 3, 2, 1. Now if you've never played 3-finger picking before, then I would advise you to get a little practice in there before playing a riff like this, because it is pretty quick. I've already made an in-depth lesson on 3-finger picking, which I'll link to in the info below, so go check that out if you're having any problems with the technique. So 3-finger picking is really well suited to the initial gallop that we have in the riff. Okay, so we're going to be using those 3 fingers. So we're just pretty much fanning the fingers, 3, 2, 1, 3, 2, 1. Now I would start this riff a little slower, just in case you've never played any of the rhythms like this, and break it down. So we're playing 16th notes, so we're playing 2 16th notes, 8th note. So we have 1 E and A. And that's pretty much the rhythm. So 1 E and A, 2 E and A, 3 E and A, 4. Okay? So 1 E and A, 2 E and A, 3 E and A, 4. Okay? So when we play that without any of the counting there. Okay? Now, once you get to this B flat up here at the 6th fret, you have a choice. You can either play with that with the ring finger there, the 3rd finger, or you can play with the 2nd finger, either one. So Okay, I tend to use the second finger because we're finishing with the first finger, you know, on the gallop. So either way, you can use whichever finger. See there, I'm using that, that middle finger. Next, for that little chromatic lead up, we can use the 3 fingers again. So, now with this hand, obviously we're just using the first and the second finger. So we've got 3, 2, 1 there in the picking hand. But then we have this little quick line up here where we've actually got 4 16th notes in a row. So, okay, so the finger picking here, I'm using something, a technique, well, I say technique, it's just an order of the fingers that I use a lot on different riffs, where we actually play 3, 2, 1, 2, 1. So ring, middle, index, middle, index. Okay, so it's a 3 finger and then just a 2 finger at the end. Okay, so when it's faster. Okay, so like I say, start out slow with these things and then build up speed. So that little line there. Okay. Now in terms of the positioning of the hand, I am playing pretty much over this kind of middle pickup here, you know, the neck pickup, which will give you that clanky sound. So if you want that kind of sound, then that's the area to play it. And I'm kind of hammering down with the fingers instead of with the fingers kind of arched over. If I was playing more, you know, that kind of sounding thing, then the fingers would be arched over more, so the fingers are pointing more at the bass, and I play closer to the bridge because we get more of that tight articulation. So, you know, completely different sound as opposed to, okay, so playing further down here with the hand a little flatter is going to give you more of that clank. You know, I could play back here, so you know, it just doesn't have the same effect, but it depends on the sound that you're going for. Now, in terms of the notes in there, I do get asked questions from people every now and then about metal chord progressions and about the notes used in metal riffs, as if there's some kind of, you know, theory to it, or harmonic analysis like I might present for a jazz standard. Well, in most forms of metal, it's not that. You know, we're pretty much looking at intervals through their relative emotive qualities, okay? So there's no real overriding, you know, functional harmony to any of this. Some intervals, like the diminished fifth, the tritone, have a pretty evil sound, you know, and intervals like the minor second, you know, that's a pretty sad or evil sound in itself. So relatively speaking, we're looking for those kind of sounds. So, you know, the opening riff, that's a tritone right there, a diminished fifth, you know, the evil dissonant sound. You know, and then we've got the chromatic movement moving up with the consecutive minor seconds. There's a lot of half-step movement in there, which again, you know, gives us that kind of evil sound. There's no scales involved, you know, there's no real chords involved. Most chords used in these styles are going to be just bare-boned power chords. So, you know, you can move those around without pretty much any concern for stuff like functional harmony. It's more about following your ear, you know, than it is working within some kind of functional tonal framework. So I'd advise you to start out pretty slowly with this riff because it is pretty quick. Don't rush and get sloppy. Aim for accuracy and keeping a relaxed hand. The minute you start tensing up is the minute you start to cramp up, and both your timing and your stamina are going to suffer. Okay, they're going to deteriorate pretty quickly. So start out slow. So, you know, this kind of speed. So just start out at that kind of speed. And actually, just one little tip for when we're moving up to the up to this little D string line here. In terms of the thumb of the picking hand, for most of it, I'm on the pickup, you know, because we're on the E string. But when we get up to there, after this little chromatic run up, I am actually putting the thumb there on the A string. Because I just find it a lot easier to be a little bit closer to the action there. And it also cuts down on any kind of residual noise that you're going to get from that open E string. So, you know, if you've got the finger on the thumb on the pickup, it's going to let that E string ring out. So by putting the thumb on the A string, it cuts off both the A string and the E string. And you know, you'll probably find if you try experimenting with the thumb, you know, put it on the pickup and just try picking that same line on the D string. You might find it a little bit tougher. Whereas when you've got the thumb closer, you know, it seems a little bit easier. Okay, so like I said, start out really slow and just build up speed. Don't worry about playing with a backing track or even a metronome to begin with. Just try and get it, you know, in your own time and just naturally build up speed. So once you are up to speed, you can try playing with the backing track, which is 192 beats per minute. Okay, so that's Hammer Smashed Face. Now there's a whole bunch of other cool riffs in there, so hopefully this will get you started on the right track. Once you have that 3-finger technique under your fingers, you should be able to work through the whole song pretty quickly. So remember to like this video if it's helped, subscribe to the channel and hit that notification bell symbol so that you can get reminders for the weekly lessons. Also check out Talkingbass.net for hundreds more lessons, and remember to sign up for the free membership where you'll get access to tons of downloads and ebooks and backing tracks and stuff like that. Okay, I'll see you next week.